Good evening and welcome to Borough Hall. There is one item on the agenda this evening. Please note that this hearing is being recorded to comply with the public law for transparency. It will be available for viewing on the Borough Presidents website, brooklyn_usa.org, or on the One Brooklyn channel on YouTube. Web viewers may submit timely comments to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov for the Borough President's consideration. I'm Richard Barrick. I'm the Land Use Director. I'll be running the hearing for Borough President Adams. Anthony, please call the first item. We'll begin.
All right, calendar item number 1, 20093 MMK.
This application submitted by Dyckman Street Realty Corporation seeks for the elimination, discontinuance, and closing of an area of approximately 18 square feet of the city right-of-way on Dyckman Street between Conover and Ferris Streets through an amendment of the city map. Such action would allow this section designated as sidewalk to be disposed to the applicant. Such action would allow for the applicant to attain a certificate of occupancy for the building constructed at 158 Dyckman Street in the Red Hook section of Community District 6. Community Board 6 has voted to approve this application with 34 members in favor, 0 against, and 3 abstaining. Would the representative for this application, Anthony Mango, please state your name for the record and present the application.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Mango. I'm with the firm Mango and Icavello at 14 Penn Plaza, New York, New York. I'm the attorney for the owner of the property located at 158 Dyckman Street. Essentially, as said in the opening comments, this is to demap a portion of the city street, specifically the sidewalk. It's 17.84 square feet of sidewalk. The building that was built, as depicted in the pictures and the drawings, was built prior to my client's ownership of the property. As we can estimate from DOB filings and permits, the building was built around 1990, 1991. My clients acquired the property in 1997 and have been operating their HVAC commercial contracting business known as Weather Champions out of this space continually since that time. My client employs roughly 10 employees, 5 of whom reside and live in the Brooklyn area. My client looks to, when they look to hire people from the Brooklyn area, all things being equal, obviously with the location, that's who they would hire. Again, there's no environmental effect. There's no change in the last 24 years on how the property is being used. We're not asking for any construction. It's just to legalize the property so that my client can obtain a C of O. As far as the certificate of occupancy, obviously without a certificate of occupancy, my clients are hamstrung in various ways. They cannot refinance the building. It imposes an impediment on them if they ever were to sell the building, and also to develop the building. Obviously, my clients in the HVAC business would look to maybe make some changes to update the building, perhaps renewable energy, solar, wind turbines is something that my clients would consider in the future. They are also in the Sandy zone. Thankfully, they did not have any damage, really tangible damage from Hurricane Sandy, but they would like to make some improvements on water and dry proofing the building to avoid another situation like that where they would not quite be so lucky. At this point, I'd ask, I can open up the floor if there are any questions or concerns. It's a pretty straightforward application.
Thank you. All right, so it's the Borough President's policy to maximize job opportunities for Brooklynites with local businesses. Therefore, when hiring and/or when there are apprenticeship opportunities that arise, how does Weather Champions go about filling such opportunities, and what steps might it take in the future to promote locally based hiring?
Well, I've discussed this with my client, and as I indicated briefly in my opening remarks, all things being equal, my clients would certainly favor to hire someone from the Borough of Brooklyn just because it's easier for those people to get to work. It's a simple, and like I said, 50% of their staff currently are Brooklynites. So they certainly would advertise in local channels. Today, though, everything is obviously pretty much internet-based, but they certainly would, all things being equal, favor a Brooklyn resident over an outside of the borough resident.
Just add for informational purposes, the Southwest Brooklyn Local Development Corporation, and they may also have hiring services, so you may want to contact with them. David Mead's the executive director, and you can reach their office at 718-965-3100, and there's other business assistance services they may be able to provide as well.
Thank you.
Okay, following up on that, it's the Borough President's policy to promote the use of sustainable and renewable energy, and the Borough President has recently convened a Renewable and Sustainable Energy Task Force focused on advancing sustainable future in Brooklyn, and that given that the building is within a quarter mile of the harbor and surrounded by low-lying buildings, so with the ability to obtain a certificate of occupancy, stated in your opening remarks, so what steps might weather champions be willing to take in terms of incorporating, say, solar panels or small wind turbines? We've seen them successfully recently in the new Gowanus Whole Foods market.
Well, being in the business, they are in the heating and cooling business, so they do have a much more knowledgeable perspective than perhaps some other residents have. Obviously, without a certificate of occupancy, they have not been able to make any improvements or changes to the building. But solar panels on the roof are something that would be considered, a small wind turbine. These are things that would be certainly considered in the future once a C of O is obtained. And as I said, my clients are very knowledgeable as to those types of energy sources, as it is their industry.
And if you have knowledge you could share with the borough as a whole, please connect back to Borough Hall.
Yes, will do.
Okay, and then final question. You mentioned in your opening remarks about Superstorm Sandy and impacts, and now in New York City we've recently adopted resiliency zoning. So wondering what considerations are being given to investing in wet-proofing or dry-proofing the building now that zoning allows such improvements?
Again, without the C of O, they have not been able to make any considerations, so nothing seriously has been considered, although that is certainly something that my clients will be looking into in the future once they are able to do so, because they are so close in proximity to the harbor. So certainly those are things that my clients would hire outside people to investigate the likelihood and something that they would consider implementing.
Okay, I have no further questions. Are there anybody who has not signed a speaker slip that would like to speak? Okay, there are no speakers, so the hearing on this item is now closed. Thank you for participating in this public hearing. The Borough President will review the applications that we've heard today and soon submit his recommendation to the City Planning Commission. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that the City Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on this item. The hearing is now adjourned. I would like to remind those viewing on the website that timely comments can be submitted by email to askeric@brooklynbp.nyc.gov.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.